Ladies and Googlers, yes, well, I thought that we would have a look at this today because we've got another Pat's guitars. Do you remember that really nice Telecaster with those Seymour Duncan antiquity pickups in? Well, this is another of those guitars from the company which is now defunct, as far as I know. Pat's Guitars, all the way from the United States of America. Now, this comes in, as you can see, a really nice Fender shotgun case. Got it. That's it. And before we, yeah, I'd say that wants strings, so we'll have those changed. Isn't that, do you know what? Immediate reaction or presentation for me, certainly, is one of great joy. That wood grain, look at the wood grain. That's epic. I'm loving that. So, before we rip the thing apart, let's have a... I wonder if there's anything in here. How do you get that up? No, 0. So before we start taking things off, let's have a quick look, see what it's like. You know, in terms of the usual measurements that we do, well, immediately, it certainly looks to me as though, around here a little bit, certainly looks to me as though the string height is exactly where I'd like to see it. Order update. And we want this way around, and the string height is blimey. That is low. That's perfect. That is perfect. So I don't have to muck about with the saddles or any of that caper. Neck straightness. Let's look at that. Fender scale, because it is that doesn't seem right. What's going on there? Strange. Oh. Well, that's weird. That's a Gibson spacing. But, bang on. Exactly what we would like to see. Now, the Google thing was because what we're going to have a look at, we're going to whip the neck off this. Well, this belongs to my mate Bob, but don't tell him. But we're going to whip the neck off and see what spec it is. And we'll have a Google and see how much these cost. So I'm going to take the strings off and yeah, okay, let's do that. Old, grubby and knackered, and these strings also need replacing. Haha. So if you are going to remove a neck, I would certainly recommend using a screwdriver that does fit inside the Phillips slots, because otherwise you do run the risk of knackering the screw heads. Not that that's a deal break, you can probably buy a set for a couple of quid, but you know. Right, okay. I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed, really, but if you remember that Telecaster that we did, inside the neck pocket, there was all sorts of old date stamps and all that kind of thing, but this obviously is brand fire new, and you can see that this is a Warmoth body. So we'll also have a Google at those, see how much they are. Looks like there's a date on there that says 3/15, which I can only assume means March 15. And as for the info on the neck, all fashioned by Fender. This is, I think that, and these are made in the States. So, you know, essentially, in very many ways, it is a Fender Stratocaster. We're going to take the scratch plate off in a minute and have a look, see what's in there. Ooh, hello. What we've got here, if you care to have a quick blimp at those, we got some better down light. Well, as you can see, certainly the centre and the neck are proper Fender custom shop pickups. Lovely. Wonder what they're reading. We'll have a look at that in a bit. Right, what's next? Well, I suppose I better put the... Oh, no, we're going to Google now, aren't we? Right, let's get Googling. So, roughly the nearest... so it turns out, as you recall, when I put the notched edge on that guitar neck, it was the wrong scale. The Fender scale wouldn't go on. So we flipped it around, and it turns out that it really is a Gibson scale. This is what they call a conversion neck. And the nearest one that I can find is this Warhead guitar neck, which, you know, looks kind of similar, and that comes in at $457. I will now have to pause you because this website is so slow. In the time that I've been waiting for this website to upload and do its thing, I've actually put the guitar back together. I've only got to bung the strings on now. And life really is too short. This is a dreadfully slow website. So, the point is this, is that guitar certainly was painted by Warmoth, and it is in a trans red. So probably the nearest thing I can find to it, and I know that this isn't exactly it, but it isn't a trans colour, but it doesn't even have the holes for extra pickups like this fella does here. But that's a very nice, very delicious looking lump of wood. So I don't know, but certainly your bottom line is going to be $617, I would say. So we'll have a little tot up of the parts and we'll see what it comes to at the end. Here we are on the Fender website, which I have to say is significantly easier to use. So nearest that I can find is the custom shop 54 Strat pickups at $269 for the trio. So we'll go with that. And onto the Fender side again, they're vintage machines, which I would say I'm 100% sure that that's what are fitted to the guitar neck, come in at 36 quid. I'm pretty sure that's what we are looking at, is because this does look exactly the same. I haven't actually looked at the bridge saddles. Hang on. Have a look. Yeah, they're those block type ones rather than the bent Fender vintage, so they look a bit like that. So should we go for 150 quid for them? Okay. Yeah, just thought I'd mention this on these vintage style machine heads where you poke the string down here. The general rule of thumb, because of course you can't cut them afterward, you have to cut them first. The general rule of thumb is, because you always want a couple of winds around there, is that you go past 2 machine heads and make your cut. You probably want 3 winds with the higher strings, so you know, take that into account. But that should be correct. If it's not, the worst that I did was wasted a string. Now, the only reason that I don't use an electric string winder is because I haven't got one. I should get one of those. So holding it down so that the winds go to the bottom, which keeps it better placed in the nut. And there I've got 2 winds. So I'd show you that. So, all in all, yes, we're all put back together and restrung and everything's absolutely correct. So, although we had a look at that neck which was $457. I've done the conversion, it's £372. That neck, I don't know if it had all that bird's eye stuff going on there. Certainly didn't have the Fender logo, which is perfectly correct, licensed by Fender. That is absolutely valid in my book. I don't think that was as nice as this, and it certainly did not have an ebony fretboard, which this has, or the abalone inlays, which we can see present on this instrument. So I would factor in probably, to be honest with you, probably an extra couple of £100 for that. But if we have a look at our tot-up screen, scrawl, I should say, yeah, that comes out at a conservative estimate of £1,329 just for the bits. And then, unless you're particularly familiar or confident with, putting it all together, then you can probably factor in another, couple of £100, maybe 150 for somebody to do it and make it all work properly. So, like I say, yeah, really, I would think that you would pay roughly £1,700 for something like this. And this has been played, but not really, not much. There's just you can probably see the lightest of picking marks, if I can get that right. You probably see the lightest of picking marks, but there's absolutely nothing on the frets at all. And it's, well, basically it's a new guitar, there's not a mark on it. So we're going to have a listen to this, aren't we? Okay. So for today, tonight, tomorrow, whichever day it might be, then I shall bid you a fond farewell, and I look forward to giving this a bit of a playing very, very shortly. So for the time being, it's adios amigos. Ta-ra.